Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Chief Master Sergeant Stacy Gelman. I'm with the 560th Red Horse out of Joint Base Charleston. I'm here to talk to you today about the final planning meeting and some of the things that take place or should take place during your final planning meeting. So you should have an established agenda before you have your meeting sent out to all your stakeholders and community partners. That will list everything that you want to cover. Usually takes a day and a half to cover all the necessary items. In some of those items, what you want to do is you want to provide a project overview of your current IRT project to which you're assigned. If you've been on that project or the project's been in existence for more than 1 year or season, you want to provide a historical or legacy overview of the project, where it started, where it is currently, and where you're headed in your current IRT year. You also want to provide any update from a contractor support if they've done any work in the off season while you were not there and present, as well as you want to provide some logistical updates, supplies, heavy equipment that's scheduled to be brought out. You want to talk about fuel, things like that. You also want to talk about services support and what that looks like, and we'll get into that as we go through these slides. So one of the things you want to cover is your fiscal year 21 construction objectives. You want to talk about your major construction milestones for the coming fiscal year. And then you want to take the time to walk through each one and field questions from the units that are there at your final planning meeting. You want to identify, discuss, and assign different objectives within the respective units that are there at your final planning meeting that will be attending your IRT project. For example, if you have a large commercial building, you might want to look at a Red Horse unit. At Camp Kamasa, we did 2 large ponds, so there was a large dirt buoy presence, so we had to plan for that. As far as vertical construction, for any vertical wooden or metal structures that you're going to do, you're going to need a large structures presence followed with electrical, HVAC, plumbing, etc. You also want to talk about in your final plan meeting your rotation schedule. You want to walk through every unit's rotation in your schedule. And you want to deconflict any issues that come up. Remain flexible. We've said all along, IRT, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So there are always going to be issues with scheduling and folks, last minute folks coming, last minute folks not coming. So you want to walk through all of that. You want to discuss ADVON and the ADVON week and your expectations for that. With Camp Kamasa, we did a bed down. So the first 4 days or so, the first unit in was setting all that up, setting up tent city and our bed down area. Also, you want to discuss any expectations for your project kickoff event. If it's a first time, usually you have a big community presence, sometimes a political presence. You want to make a great showing for your community partner and a great kickoff event if you can do that. Also, DV Day, big day for all of us to shine. You want to talk about expectations of the team or the unit that's going to be there during DV Day. There's a lot of other ancillary duties that come with DV Day, and it's a great time for us to showcase IRT and the fantastic training opportunity it provides us and what we also provide to the community. And the last thing you want to discuss about is your rear von expectations, the team that's there on the last rotation, cleaning up tent city, things of that nature, returning heavy equipment. You want to talk through all of that during your rotation schedule discussion. On one of my slides, you'll see that we have a rotation schedule example that has all the AFSCs and CE broken out. If that is super handy if you can get the units that are attending to fill that out. I would highly encourage that. It's great for work package planning and overall planning of your mission success. You also want to discuss manpower at your final planning meeting. You want to finalize the units and their manpower using that spreadsheet I just gave you. Then also assess services with bed down and tent assignments, things of that nature. I always let the units that are coming in make their own tent assignments unless there was a major issue. I believe in a command tent, and obviously you have men and women's tent as well. Each service component has unique nuances, so be flexible. For example, the Marines, everyone beds down together, males and females. Air Force, we don't do that. So it's a lot of fun to deal with the different services. I highly encourage a joint opportunities if you can get it. A lot of fun, a lot of learning opportunities at all levels of rank and experience. At the final planning meeting, you also want to talk about your bed down operations. You want to walk through the bed down area if you can. At Camp Kamasa, we're very fortunate to have a Mississippi Army National Guard Armory with a huge footprint. We're able to use that for bed down. Bathrooms and shower arrangements are always a point of interest. You want to make sure that you've got enough to cover the troops that are coming in. You may want to have a discussion if you have a surge of troops coming in. We had an issue where we had troops coming in from another assignment that came to us last minute, and we had to surge and make alternate work schedules, things of that nature. So bathrooms and showers are always a big point of discussion. Power Pro and HVAC have a lot of training areas, training opportunities in the bed down site. They're usually responsible for that. You want to talk about the security of your bed down site, how safe you are. You want to talk about if it's got Wi-Fi, how close you are to everything. So you want to walk through that and have services walk through that with you. You want to also remind the units that they're responsible for the upkeep of said site. In bathrooms, you usually get their first sergeant or assigned first sergeant to take care of all that. Also, during your final planning meeting, services will also brief on their feeding schedule, what kind of food they're going to be serving. Is it UGRs, HOTS? Is it MREs once in a while? You also talk about if there are external feeding opportunities. For instance, in Camp Kamasa on Thursday nights, we have area churches feed us. So we also talk about that. One point that most of you that we've all been downrange is that you cannot accept food from unapproved sources. So please be aware of that when you're talking about your service support and when you're bringing food back to the camp. Camp Kamasa, we had a refrigerator so we could store that, but the services could not accept it. One of the points with services and CE working together is respect each other's work area. Services doesn't come through the drawings and get into the plumbing supplies or what have you. We stay out of their kitchen as well. So please respect each other's work area. Make sure that's part of your brief. Metrics tracking. This is a big one, right? So you want to have your deputy project manager or your logistics NCO capture on our IRT template the weekly metrics. This is huge. The report goes to the program managers every Friday, close of business on Friday. These metrics are used by the IRT program and also by the unit UTMs. It's beneficial for a community impact statement showing how much money we've saved the community, how much money we've spent in the community. That goes very helpful for them. It's also beneficial for awards, decorations, EPRs, and OPRs. So make sure you're capturing all that metrics. We are here for training, so this is the big one that you want to keep track of and really keep control of. This also aids in early after-action review development, which is critical for the program managers to have at the end of the IRT tours. So I put another slide in here called Lessons Learned. Some of the things that are on here because of things that I've dealt with in my 3 years doing IRT. So one of the things I always emphasize with the units is this: they're here for training, right? The civil engineers, super smart, super adept people at doing what they're doing, but we are here for training, not re-engineering the site. Sure, we always find things that will come up and we need to redline drawings, but we don't need to reinvent the entire wheel. So please be aware of that when the units are there. Equipment. When you get your equipment, your tools, and your heavy equipment, it's like you're on an island. That's what you have to deal with. Make it work. Be safe, be smart, but we're CE and we can figure it out. Building materials versus equipment items. They have to brief the teams on building materials are the responsibility of the community partner. Equipment items are on us, the service component. So make sure you know the difference between the two and that the troops know the difference. Inclement weather, have a backup plan. Mississippi, we get monstrous rain and heat. So on days that we cannot work because of the mud, we've had instances with Marines that were with us, had a PME session. We've had indoor work. So always come up with a plan B and inclement weather. Customer engagement, this is a big one. So project managers and deputy project managers, duration staff should be the only ones having one-on-one contact with your community partner. Teams really don't need to be in there. I would suggest that if you have wing commanders, group commanders, command chiefs, tags, that you set up some kind of executive one-on-one brief for them. Very beneficial, but the units that come in do not need to be in with customers. It creates more problems than it's worth, and sometimes there's mixed messaging, and you want to avoid that. You all are in charge of the project and executing the project, so you should be the voice of the project. This is not a union job while you're here. You're on 2 weeks of annual tours, so we are in the military, and we will execute accordingly. Work outside your AFSC. This is a big one, right? As a former first sergeant and being flexible in IRT, the benefits of working outside your AFSC, if you have a chance to, is great for awards, decks, force multiplier. It's a win-win for everybody. So I would highly encourage working outside your AFSC with the teams, the units, as you can. Schedule, you want to keep an eye on that schedule. Make sure the schedule is clearly communicated what your rotation days are, what the expectations are for the team that's inbound, the team that's outbound, so you don't have any hang-ups with bed down. Visibility in the community, that's a big one, right? Being in Mississippi, you're in the Bible Belt. You want to watch your language. You want to watch your driving. Everyone knows that you're in town in these smaller towns. Word gets out fast. You are an ambassador for the military and the IRT program, so it's very important you conduct yourself accordingly as a professional. Contracted heavy equipment care and maintenance, right? So you want to take good care of the heavy equipment. It's all you've got. If it gets broken, it ends up usually on the Air Force or the service component. It's not the time to be messing up or damaging contractor equipment while you're there. So please take good care of it. Weekly Telecon, I would highly suggest setting up a weekly Telecon. You can do that through freeconferencecall.com. We did ours every Thursday at 2 o'clock. Works real good for updates on top of emails. You can update what work has been accomplished and what work is coming up. It's a great time to discuss tools and equipment. One of the things that come up are harnesses if you're on the roof, right? Sometimes you don't have enough and units need to bring some in. Any other PPE to remind them of rubber boots, work gloves, eye pro, ear pro, all that stuff. So the conclusion of this, I would say that when your action items at your final planning meeting, you want to identify, track, and respond to any action items that you have. Keep a matrix on Excel. That works real handy. You want to follow up and keep an eye on your contracts. Make sure they're out in time for heavy equipment. Fuel, if you're buying bulk fuel. Freezers for food. That's a big one. And any shower shave trailers that you may rent to support your mission. Absolutely capture your work and spending metrics for your community impact statement. So that pretty much concludes my brief for the final planning meeting. I wish you all every success. If you need anything, I'm in the global and easy to find online. So best of luck. If you need anything, give me a call. Good luck.